Hello, welcome. Another episode of Bob. In this episode, rather than turning it into a mini-series, I sort the misfire out that you saw at the tail end of the last episode. And also, does it get an MoT? Does it get an MoT? You're going to have to watch it and find out, aren't you? Or check the DVLA website, it's up to you. But the video's more fun. There you go, watch it, enjoy. Right, let's get the bonnet open. Wow. See what's going on under here. We've got quite a misfire. So what I use to easily detect a misfire, one of these chaps. Just point it at the exhaust ports. 145, 129, 144, 41. Cylinder number one is not connected, and 135, 150, 170, 132. So number one. Switch it off in. Find out what's going on with number one. Why is number one misbehaving? You can sit up here. I'll watch for a second. Sit there. I don't know if you can see. Frankly, my dear, I don't damn a give. I mean, all this is just part of this bloody shakedown stuff that I have to go through. Now, let's try it again. Right, it clicked on. Let's see what happens now when we start up. Still sound beautiful. It does sound better. No, we're still not firing on number one. Right, now all I do, just squirt a bit of lube in there. Pull the boot as if you're going to take it off, but don't go berserk with it, and then that gets the lube onto the silicone lead, and then you can push it all back on again. Let's see if that's fixed it. Well, it certainly clicks a bit better. Right, now I wasn't sure that number two was working either, so let me get number two off as well. You can sit there and watch, and you're shouting at it. I don't know, can you see? What are you looking at? I haven't got the tripod. It's got to gin o'clock, and I am gasping for a gin today, I tell you. Right, that's off. Let's push him in. Click. Right, that's on. Is that... I wouldn't have said that was a problem. That's on. They're all on. Right, try again. I don't know why number one's not firing. Right, so having spent all fucking day on it, it's now decided it's going to piss me around, which is it's what cars do. They're haunted, you know it, don't you? Right, let's put that back on there. What I'm going to do is use the timing light just to see if I'm getting a signal from the distributor. Right, so I'm going to plug number one first of all. Yeah, okay, no. course, it's running beautifully now. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Fan. Yeah. We've not got electrician related. Might have door related. Quite possibly where? It's at the rails now. It's haunted. I'll take them around the block tomorrow. I want to check this over first of all. I suspect that if the ignition is all working, I'm just worried now that one of the carbs is not working. But why it's just affected one of the cylinders and not four of them, I don't know. The way the carbs work is they kind of work on, well, on the Stag it works on 2 cylinders on each side. I don't know what it does on the Rover V8. I've never actually managed to dig into enough detail to find out, or even to care. There you go. It's running sweet enough now, isn't it? Silly machine. Right, let's pop it in the workshop. I managed to slash my finger open as well. Right, that's down. Fuck it, let's go for a drive. Now it's behaving itself. I don't know what it was. I suspect it's a plug lead, which is disappointing because I don't normally have problems with those plug leads. They left the fucking hose running on the road, so I'm driving up quite a wet road here. Right, winter first. It's going in there. Give it a little bootload as we go down here. Rather hoping to be able to get it on the road today, but it's sawned and it's not got an MoT and etc, etc, etc. 1,000 RPM in seconds. Yeah, she's got a lot of pickup. Exhaust is a lot noisier than it is on mine. Oh, you can just come around here, haven't you? For fuck's sake, mate. You have to go up. Pull in. Fucking hell, he's making a meal of that. Yes, thank you. There's that misfire again. I think what we'll do is we'll not tempt fate, and we'll cheers. Go and pop it in the workshop, I think, and have a look at that misfire tomorrow, because that is not helpful. And if it's those fucking leads, then I shall be changing them. But under load, we've got a misfire. There you go. Tucked up back in the workshop. Sweet. No misfire at all now. Oil pressure's not working. Probably knock the wire off. Oh, that's working. Just put the light on it. Intermittent misfire. I'm going with leads. Oh, let me out of the car. I think it's time to actually pack up, because I'm starting to get irritable, and when you start getting irritable, you start doing dopey things. I'm not going to do dopey things with Bob, but you just start doing dopey things like, I'm going to go home now and have a bucket of gin. That's a dopey thing. Yes. Dusty as well. I don't know what to do with that fucking dust they've created today. Oh my god. Right. I am packing up. Okay, let's get this bloody misfire sorted out. So, as you've seen, I got the misfire sorted at idle, but then as I put load on the engine, the misfire came back. Now that could still be ignition related. It could just be that the engine was running so fast that whatever the issue was manifested itself again. Now, because it wasn't quite such a blub 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 misfire, I'm more inclined to think that it's possibly something to do with the king lead or the coil. The coil could be fucked. I mean, bearing in mind it's a used old stock 12-volt coil. It could well be the coil. Unlikely to be the distributor cat or rotor, because that's distributor doctor. These lumination leads as well I generally find to be quite reliable. So it's going to be a case now, I think, of going around all of the likely suspects and really working out what the fuck I'm going to do with them. So what I need to do, I'm going to plug the oil pressure wire back on again. If I forget, I can go on. I need to make a new terminal for that. So really it's just a case of each lead, pulling it off, double checking the lead is actually connected onto the sparking plug, because like I showed you yesterday, the contact for the spark plug is in there, and really you want the thing to click on quite nicely when it goes on, because you've got this massive great rubber boot and you can think it's tight on the spark plug, but there's like a 2mm gap. Right, you heard it click. I'll take it off. Click. Ready? That clicked. So I'm quite happy with that. And then this end, we're just going to route it up to number 1 again. I've got the screws, by the way, to screw these bastard things in here. Okay, again, as I say, I need to kind of move the boot up, push the lead, so again it clicks in. Now, what I've tried to do here is be a little more organised with the right tools in the right place at the right time. Use something like a little jeweler screwdriver. I don't want to damage the cap, but I want to make sure this is not going to go down any further, and it ain't. So we're there. I think this was the problem for number 1 not firing yesterday, and that problem's now gone away. What I really need to do is to pull this dust cap down without pulling the lead out. I think I've done that. Now, the ones that I'm not actually that comfortable with that, let's get sorted. One of the useful things for this, it does stop squeaks, it does drive out moisture, it does clean and protect, it loosens rusted parts, but not very well, and it frees sticky mechanisms. What it doesn't do is lubricate long term. However, very good working with silicone, because you just put a little squirt in there, wiggle, 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 and then all of a sudden the boot becomes quite easy to pull up and down. Yeah, like that, see? Now I've got a bit of WD. It won't last long. It will soon, you know, sort of dry. So I'm going to put that in again. Let's find the jeweler's screwdriver. I'm going to take the key lead off. That looks like it's gone down, but it hasn't at all. I think this is where my problem is. I want to feel it actually click in. That click, and then move the boot down and over. There we are, boot is on. These fellas, this kind of like right angled connectors, what I do with these when they come off, again, a good indication if you've got a misfire is that you will find crap and dirt around there. Now with these types, sometimes just opening out the contact just a tiny bit, just to force it in. Again, as I'm pushing that in, I want to feel a nice solid action as it clicks into place, and it has done. And I'll go around each of these. So we'll check the ignition first of all. Still got a problem. We're going to check spark plugs, because we could actually have, I mean, these are the spark plugs that came with the engine. As you know, this engine was just a, it was a salvage job. Right, that didn't feel like it was down far enough. I think it was. 40. Sometimes it's easier just to pull it up first of all and then push it back. There we are, let's go back easily now. And then we'll go in and down, click, boot can go back over the top, he's in. God, there's fucking hours of fun this, isn't there? This one, actually no, cap's fine. I haven't done anything with the distributor, by the way, about checking the air gap on it, but that's another thing. All the ignition amplifier could be causing a problem. I can check those just by watching my own video, Ignition Masterclass, on how to check ignition amplifiers and also the air gap inside the distributor for the sensor. It's quite well detailed in the manual, so I'm not going to go into that on this unless I have to. If I have to, I will. If I don't have to, I won't. Come on, you fucker. So we'll go for the most likely causes first. Down nicely. Second to last one. That one wasn't very tight in there. Just again opening out the contact, pushing back down. Not being particularly brutal here. Click. Last one, king lead. Right, I'll check the resistance on the coil. Right, just push king lead down. The king lead does actually go down quite a long way inside. There we go, and the other end of the king lead onto the ignition coil. I had a chronic misfire on my Stag, which perplexed me for quite some time, and it actually ended up being a slightly loose low tension screw, and that was a particularly stupid problem to have, I'll tell you now. Right, then the next thing I really want to do is to check each of these is actually firmly seated onto the plug. I want to actually feel it click on. Click. That one didn't click. Did that time. You heard it. 2. Making sure that the terminal's not too far up inside the click. And on this side, two, three, and 4. Right. Now what I need to do is get these chaps screwed onto the top of the rocker cover at some point. Let's give it a go now. Oh, I was going to check the ignition coil, wasn't I? You can move. Okay, let's do the coil first of all. So what I do, I go to somewhere like Holden. This coil didn't come from Holden. You can see they're advertising a nice green box Lucas ignition coil here. But what the Holden site is very good at, they tell you what the resistance is under the reviews. A standard 12 volt Lucas coil with push on centre lead, which pretty much, that's an old stock Lucas 12 volt coil. It's not a ballastic coil. And it tells me that the primary coil resistance is 2.9 ohms and the secondary coil resistance is 10.9 ohms. Okay. Oh no, this is the ballasted version. I do apologise. There you go. This is as. Oh, sorry. No, there's a. Not reading. I have to learn to read, Richard. A high output sports version of this coil is also available, as is a version that is suitable for use with the ballast resistor. So these settings here, which is kind of what I thought, 3 ohms and 10 to 11 ohms. So all I do, let's get my vomiter here. We go to the ohm range, so it's just the 200 range on this, and I'll measure across the 2 primary contacts. Can you see the ignition coil? It's here. Yes, you can. And I'm just looking now, and I'll let it settle. Oh. 3.8, 3.9 to 4. It's a little bit on the high side. So test the resistance of the 2 wires. Oh, that's coming in as 1 anyway. So I'm testing the resistance of the 2 wires. It's coming in as 1. So I need to deduct 1 off the overall reading here. It's my understanding, my basic understanding here. So if I take 1 off 3.8, it's going to take me down to 2.9, which is bang on. So primary circuit is good. Secondary circuit is measuring from one of the posts across to the centre terminal. Oh no, sorry, we've gone to the wrong range here. Because we're talking 10,000 or 10.9 kilo ohms, we need to go to the 20k range. And I'll hold that on there. Secondary resistance is a bit on the low side. So bearing in mind I need to take 1 off this thing, I would look at this thing coming in at about 12 ohms. 12 kilo ohms, I should say. And it's not, it's coming in at 8.7. And this one, 8.7. I think possibly the coil is tired. The ignition coil is tired. It's not going to put a great spark out, which is going to cause me a misfire, isn't it? Let's go and see if I can find a better ignition coil. Because while it works, it's not working under load. May well be the root cause of my problemo. Hey, Richard, I've got a box of coils, old coils in the shed. I've got a fairly horrific selection of coils here. So this one is a 12 volt coil, ignition coil. Doesn't really tell me anything more about it, other than it's 12 volts. Warning high voltage. Let's take this cap off, take the mounting off it. See if it says anything underneath. Right, I don't know if it's ballasted or not. This one is definitely ballasted. This is an old Unipart coil here. Look at that. It still works beautifully, but it's for use only with a ballast resistor. And these are the 2 components that came off my Stag before I fitted that Petronix flamethrower setup. So that was no good because it's ballasted. I don't want to put a ballast system on this because there's higher performance coils available, and I've got no idea what this one is. Just says Lucas on the top, old stock. There you go. Give it a go. Right, so let's balance it there. Don't need to piss around with it. Do the secondary resistance first of all. It's dirty, so I'm not expecting great things. That's coming up at higher resistance already. Let's do the primary. I might have to give it a good clean. Put my thumb on it, which wasn't very helpful, was it, Richard? Terminal's loose on this side, which is not going to help it. 4.8, 4.9. That was probably tired then on the primary circuit and the secondary circuit. Oops, sorry, got 20k range. 9. The problem I've got here is that it's obviously had a misfire on the main king lead because it's all furred up in there. So what happens when you get misfire on these things? It tends to create quite high resistance. Yeah, I think this was probably fucked, to be honest. I can give it a clean up. Nope, rejecting that one. That was a bag of shite. And this one, I don't even know if you can see, you can see. Right, let's look at the primary resistance while Tyrannosaurus is moving around outside. Oh, this one's better. 9.74. This is probably a slightly higher performance coil, this one. And then primary. Fucking hell, boys. This is a ballistic coil, I reckon. Because it's reading down to 2 ohms. When I take my one off, so the cables are measuring around an ohm. And on the primary resistance, this is now gone off. That's really helpful. Timed out. Go back again. I think that's a ballistic coil. The ballistic coil, you see, would be 1.5 ohms. Don't know. Doesn't help, does it? I'm going to stay with this original coil for now. And part of the reason for that, despite all my chuntering them, is that when you change too many things, you don't actually know what fixed the bloody problem, do you? So I've done all the HT leads, so let's reassemble and see if that's actually fixed the problem. I think would be the most sensible approach. I'm not convinced that that coil is the best one that's out there. I can give it a go, can't I? Right, so the white wires and go back onto the positive terminal. I've got a little locking washer there, look at that. If I have to order a new coil, I'll probably go for something like a Bosch. Sounds like escaping gas. Make sure these terminals are tight. Don't go. You don't need a torque wrench. Just don't have them loose. Right, and then let's have this and go back onto. Right, it's in. Let's see if it starts up. Keys. What have I done with the keys? Where's the keys?
Well, it already sounds 2 million times better. Perfect.
So it could well be then that it was just HTD causing my problem. Hand-fisted gibbon, aren't I? One of these belts is squeaking as well. I've got it tested out. Punting a bit now because the LPG. Sorry. The alternator belt is squeaking. We haven't got a leak. That's exhaust smell. That's a good tip there. That's not as used to put stuff in the waters. When you've got a squeaking belt, just put a tiny bit of lube on that belt. If it goes quiet, you know it's that belt's causing you problems. Well, I know this belt can cause me problems already because it's far too narrow for the water pump pulley and the crank pulleys. It's just going to wear on the shoulders all the time. I need to sort that out. It is cold still. That's what I could do, check the ignition type. My cheapo time pipe. Got these number 1EO. So we're about 6. We're about 6 degrees before cockpit temperature. I think that's about right. Bear in mind that was a cold start. Seems to be chunkering over quite heavily. Talk to Steve about booking Diana in next week. So I've got to get that prepped up now, really. I do want to trim these carbs a little bit, so I'll do that later on. Not bits from the gears in this yet. Perhaps I should do that. Let's go into low range. That's 4th. That's 5th. And we're doing 10 miles an hour in 5th. Oh yes. RPM. That pulls quite nicely. Right, let's fuck off back to the unit. Get on with dying. Fix that. I have in my hand piece of paper, and it says pass. We figured out this is the first MOT in about 20 years. We say about because the DVLA records, online records, started in 2005, I believe, and this wasn't even on the system. No advisories, as you would expect. I would expect nothing less. No, I'm well pleased with that. So you're gonna have to wait to the next video though for the shakedown, because I need to get this on the road. It's all taxed and road legal now. I'll get out there and drive it on the road and see what it's like before I hand it over to the owner. With reluctance, I must admit, I've enjoyed driving this, but then my dad's car is next into the workshop. I actually enjoy driving that as well. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Give me a good old thumbs up if you did. And subscribe, hit the old bell button, because it's helped the algorithms. And if you fancy buying me a pint, or just plain, you know, supporting the channel, then there's a PayPal me link thing scrolling down here somewhere. And everything is very, very, very gratefully received and thanked personally via email. That's it.